Hi everyone, I'm Nils, I'm from Learning Tribes. I'm in charge of international business development and innovation for the company. We are the subsidiary of Sitel Group, dedicated to learning and development solutions for our clients. I will come to that in a moment. I'm very proud to be here in this magnificent room here. Excuse my English if at sometimes it's a bit weird. It's because I'm French. Sorry, I'll try to do my best here. My challenge here is to onboard you actually on the track sessions. So I'm very pleased to have you in the room, and we'll try to go through that journey in about 35 minutes to give you time afterwards to have something to eat, right? So the title of this session is actually the keys to an ultimate onboarding. So we try to share with you what makes the difference when you onboard, when you train people when they join your company, and give you some tips also to bring back to your own organizations and think about how to improve your onboarding processes and tools. So before we go into the presentation, just a few words about Learning Tribes. We are an international company dedicated to creating learning and development solutions. We do, and we've seen that in this morning presentations, we do also have a consulting mindset in the idea that we develop only customized solutions for our clients. We don't do on the shelf. We put as much as we can innovation and digital in our solutions as well, but not for the sake of technology, but to be more efficient. That's something that we'll see later in the presentation. We do have subsidiaries also in other continents. We have an office in Shanghai, in Sao Paulo, in Miami, and our AME headquarters is in Paris. Anytime you come to Paris, feel free to visit us. We are close to the big shops in the Opera District. And last but not least, our mission, our assignment is to create learning experience solutions as such, and we do also rely on some technologies and platforms to support and to enhance the experience for the learners. So you can see here some ideas or some concepts that we do have. We have MyMOOC, which is running also a track session to offer like content curation platform. Tribu is our learning experience platform. You can try and test it in the room downstairs. And we also rely on some other technologies like WeChat learning, Messenger learning, and virtual reality. So those are like tools, additional tools to enhance the learning experience. So I want to share with you also an idea about what's onboarding. Actually, we are experiencing onboarding in many cases, in many situations in our lives. For instance, this morning, I hope you've been onboarded well on this Empower CX event. So you've been welcomed, you got a coffee, you came to the room, you get explained what's going on today. You could exchange also with some peers or some experts. So this is also onboarding for this specific event. When you go and start traveling, it's also a kind of journey, and to me it's like similar to onboarding. So let's start the journey here. So let's imagine I'm in Paris and I feel like I need to travel a little bit more around the world, and I want to discover some new places. So that's the start of the journey. I will look for a specific destination, a place I would like to go, to visit, to discover. So we'll have to find my next move, actually. It might be anywhere on the planet. I will then, once I've decided where to go, I will prep and I will pack my bags to make sure that I feel ready for this journey, so to hit the road. And once on the road, I may go through different also feelings. I may feel like it's very nice, this place, but it's a bit far, it's a long journey for me to get there, and so on. So I will get excited, but at the same time, I will get some fear about this change, like any change, actually. But mostly, I'm enjoying this trip because I'm moving towards the destination I wanted to go to, right? And I'm experiencing this travel, this journey, as much as I can. But what happens if, when you get there, it's like this? So you felt like you would go to the right place, but the place is actually not so attractive, right? And the signpost is contradictory to the experience you are living. We are talking this morning about experience, emotions, but think about what emotions you would get reaching this Colorado border, for instance. And if instead of that, you would get to Las Vegas with this shiny, very light, very welcoming signpost, which maybe on the other hand could be a little bit too much as an ad or as an attractive tool, right? So for me, onboarding is a little bit like this journey. Onboarding is actually all the mechanisms that will help you get the skills, the behaviors, the culture to be efficient in your new organization. So it's a journey. It's a journey that starts when you start looking for a new position, a new job, a new company, and it finishes when you are, I would say, at the level of expectation from a skill set and performance perspective. So it's very important to focus on how you will design, how you will build the onboarding process, including initial training, to make the organization as efficient as possible through giving the new employees the right skill sets, behaviors, and culture, and so on. I want to share also with you another quote from Richard Branson that makes sense to me, and I hope makes sense to all of us. We've been talking about clients. How do we engage with our customers? How do we make sure that we deliver them the best experience, the best emotions for them to engage with the brands? But actually, clients do not come first. Employees come first, because if you don't take care of your employees, how could they take care of your clients? So it's very important also to focus on what is the experience, what is the engagement you would get to have with your own employees, and it starts from the beginning, from day one, and even sometimes before day one, before they join the company. Okay. As you know, and we've also seen that this morning in Pedro's and the other presentations, we are in a new era in terms of social economics, political environment, and so on. What does it mean for HR as such? There are many tensions on the socio-economic sphere, so it means that there is uncertainty about the way we will manage our organizations in the future. Many jobs don't exist today, but will exist tomorrow, and the other way around. So it's very complex to behave as an HR professional in this area. If we look a little bit closer to the talent environment, we are still in the talent war, because it's hard to find the right people for the right position at the right moment in so many different areas that it becomes also a differentiator in terms of competition, right? So HR is a tough job at the moment. On top of that, the employers, the companies, you guys maybe, have new expectations in terms of skill sets, in terms of behaviors, in terms of the way you adapt to your clients. So it means that it gets more complicated sometimes for candidates to align with your expectations. And on the other way around, the employee, the talent, they also have new behaviors. When you think about the millennials, when you think about new cultures, new people joining the companies, they have new habits. They are more digital, they are more flexible, they are not willing to stay too long in your company maybe. So it's very complex to align between the employees' expectations and behaviors and the organization's readiness, I would say, and what they need actually as well. So onboarding is clearly a challenge. It's been a challenge for some time, but I think it's even more critical today. So just a few figures to share with you and to look at how challenging it is to onboard the right people. Within the millennials population, we believe that, surveys say that 39% of them actually don't think of staying more than 2 years in the company. So from day one, you already know that more than 1/3 of the newcomers, who are millennials, which is the target population I guess we have all in our organization, will probably leave the organization in the next 2 years. So that's already a big challenge, how to engage with them on the long term. 22% of the turnover also occurs in the first weeks of job experience, right? Maybe even more in our customer experience environment. So once again, you will lose 1/3 of the new employees in just a couple of weeks. It shows how critical it is to focus on the first steps of a new employee within the organization. And given also the fact that it's really costly in terms of salary loss and efforts you put in the organization. And last figure I wanted to share this morning on this topic is that 1 out of 2 employees believe that the company's process, tools, and organization for onboarding or initial training could be improved. So that's a very good news for us at Learning Tribes. That it means that we do have some room for improvement in the different organizations. But it actually shows also that your employees are expecting you to improve all those processes and tools to make their life easier, to help them onboard correctly and be efficient within their organization. So the other question we could ask ourselves is, are we ready for us to provide the good onboarding process the employees are expecting? It's seen as one of the top 3 priorities according to a study from Deloitte, in terms of priorities for HR, right? So it's already at the top of the agenda. So that's a first good news. Second point, 80% of the C-level executives believe that integration is clearly an urgent matter. So it's not tomorrow, it's now. We need to change the way we onboard, the way we train, the way we incorporate new employees right now to make the difference, to make them feel welcomed and engage more within the organization. And actually, there is only 1/3 of the organizations, according to that survey, that offer actually a real structured onboarding process for the new employees. So it means that it's still a priority, it's still seen as something very urgent and important, but organizations don't really align to that need they agree on, actually. If we look a little bit closer to the customer experience, to contact centers or retail organizations, we can say that onboarding is even, to me, a thoughter challenge. Because onboarding in those jobs actually means initial training as well. Because you start a new position, a new assignment, and you also need to learn everything from day one. You need to learn the corporate culture, the brand, I would say, image. You need to learn maybe to use new systems, new tools, how to answer the customer, soft skills, and so on. So it's a very hard process for a newcomer to get all that knowledge, all those skills at the same moment, and to be efficient at the end of the initial training or onboarding process. So that's something very specific. Then the customer journey, and you know it also, of course, is changing fast and it's changing deep as well. Digital transformation is here, so the processes, the tools that we are using and the customers are using are changing the way we interact with them. So for the agents, it means that it's going to be a continuous change in the next weeks, months, and years. So we need to also find the right balance between initial training, initial onboarding, and continuous support, continuous training for those agents. We need also to think about how efficient is the learning process in those first weeks or first months in order to drive the performance to the highest level as possible. So for customer experience environment, onboarding is key to make the difference, to get your employees ready for their job, to make sure that you can also achieve the KPIs that you want to achieve with your workforce, and to engage them the best as possible from day one and in the long term as well. So let me share with you a few ideas about how to improve or how to kind of make sure that you've done the best you could to build an efficient initial customer experience training within your organization. The first topic is to think about the structure of that onboarding process or that initial training process, new hire training process. It has to be progressive. If you start too hard, too fast, or if you make it too difficult from day one for the agents, for the newcomer, you will lose them. They're gonna leave, they're gonna feel disengaged, and maybe they will stay, but they will leave later. So it's not efficient. You need also to think about how to I would say, build the right architecture between initial training and continuous training. So maybe some of the topics that you have currently in initial training is not necessary. You could cut them out and put them as continuous learning units that you would see later on the journey. So that's the first idea. The second one is to make sure that you give the right sense, the right insight on that learning process in terms of what is my job for as a newcomer, as a new employee? Why do I need to learn this tool? Why do I need to learn how to interact this way with the customer? So every time you can make the connection between an operation or a behavior or a skill to give sense, it will help your employee be better onboarded. You need also to make sure that you assess correctly in the right manner how those learning needs are achieved and how to help the learners be reassured during the process. So this is very important to build also from day one the right assessment approach to ensure both the engagement and also the efficiency of the learning program. To make that program be efficient, we also advise our clients actually to make as many different pedagogical approaches as we can. Why that? Because if you have a variety of learning units, different ways of learning, it will make it more fun, maybe. It will also drive efficiency, engagement, and you will stimulate their skills in different manners. Because we don't learn all the same way. Some people are more visual, some people are more like interacting, and so on. So we need to make sure that we use all the different sets and techniques available. Scenariization is key as well. Telling stories, explaining what is the persona, what is the customer journey, going through a specific process is also something useful to anchor the skills, to anchor the right knowledge in our minds. Alternating also the techniques in between, like classroom training, on-the-job listening or visits, and also other approaches is better to make the future employee or the new employee get to know what his job is about, right? So when you are in a contact center environment, for instance, expecting like 7 weeks before you get the first call or you go on the floor, it's definitely too long. So you need to make the experience as close as possible from the reality of the job. So think about those alternate situations. You need also to involve the manager's line in the process, in the definition of that training, but also in the onboarding process, like welcoming sessions, peer-to-peer discussions, getting to know them from a more personal side is also important in this new training approach. And last but not least, when you define and when you structure your training or your initial onboarding process, try to make it in modular and short blocks. Why that? Because first, it will be easier to maintain later on. If you need to change the process in one area, you can change the training unit related to that specific process. If you need to change a tool, then it's the same idea. But it will also help you decide in some occasions to, for instance, reshape the training curriculum, make it shorter for peak periods. You want to hire a lot of people at some point for the summer season, then you can maybe build a fast track for them in 2 weeks instead of 4, but dedicated and focused on some specific topics. So those were a few ideas about how to build an efficient initial training. Let's imagine that we want to assess how the training is done currently. How we would do that? The first step would be getting to know what's the current situation. So we would look at the materials, we would look at the PowerPoint slides that may exist. Maybe there is already some digital learning units, so we would look at that. We would also, of course, get to know the people, real people delivering the training, or people, the newcomers that have been through the onboarding process recently. So we would gather all that information, make it into a kind of a SWOT analysis report, and provide the right recommendations based on the 8 topics that we defined before. So that's a methodology, pretty simple, close to what an audit would be, to make sure that the current training program is efficient enough in regards to the organization needs and to the employees' needs. So let me share an example also of how to redesign a training program. So the first step in that process is actually the same than the one we've seen just before. You assess the current training situation, you set the objectives, you define what would be the KPIs at the end of the process, what do you expect as a learning curve. And then we would, with our engineers, our experts, redesign the training curriculum, so the structure of the training, as we've seen, and we will also redesign the materials. Those materials, they need to be impactful, they need to support engagement, they need to be as efficient as possible to reach the pedagogical objectives that we have defined before. So we think also that building some digital units may be useful in that process. The best situation is if we were to run a proof of concept or pilot to ensure that the training is efficient enough before we deploy to the full organization or to new businesses. So you can see on the right-hand side of this slide that we've done that for an energy leader in Europe. Actually, the topics, I'm sure you are familiar with those, but the speed to proficiency was not fast enough, and there was a very high attrition rate. So thanks to the redesign of that training program, we achieved a better attrition. We reduced the training for 2 days, so it means less money invested into that training. It means also that the new agents, the new customer advisors are on the job, on the floor more rapidly, so they get to be really at ends with their mission. And the learning curve was reduced by 7 days, so it means that you reach the target KPIs 7 days before. So you can see that training is not only about skills and I would say culture and so on, it's also about being efficient. So if you redesign properly the training curriculum, you can get real effective impact. So I'm going to share with you also some ideas. I've been telling you that we need to put a little bit more digital in the training. When we see slides and PowerPoints for a 7 weeks long training, to us it's very much the case that it's boring, it could be complex, it could be not efficient, and you would have bad impact on the onboarding process. So putting some tech into that could support the process. So we share with you some experiences that could be seen throughout the employee journey. We will focus more on the first part of the journey, of course, because we're talking about onboarding, but I would even take a step before and talk about how to attract, how to recruit, how to pre-train, in a way, the new employees, the new customer advisors. So you could start with an example like this one. We've designed for Saita in the US, but also in France and Morocco, a MOOC, so massive open online course. I'm not sure, I don't know if you are familiar with that, but it's a course available online to get to know a job, in that case, to get to know the company, and to help you immerse yourself in what could be your future job. So it was open to everyone. We got, for France and Morocco, I think 3,000 people connected on that MOOC, and they went through a few weeks classes, like 30 to 60 minutes long course in several weeks, to get trained, to get to know the company, to get to know what does it mean to be a customer advisor at Saita, and for them, at the end of the day, maybe to apply for that job. So why do we believe it's very interesting as a concept? It's because first you raise the brand awareness, so it's a positive impact in terms of employer branding. Then you attract new people to your recruitment, to a new recruitment channel. So you would maybe add that to the job boards, to the Facebook accounts, and so on. And the people who are going to go on that MOOC, on that course, are actually digital savvy. They are eager to learn. They are curious, and they will know a little bit more about the customer advisor environment. So it makes them very good candidates, and when you recruit them, they're a bit more ready, they are a bit more engaged, and they are also a little bit more trained on the new job. So let me share with you the video, the teaser we developed for Sitel US to present that MOOC.
In case you missed it, the term customer experience is everywhere in business these days. Experts agree that focusing on the customer experience has become the single most important factor for an organization to achieve business success. In fact, companies spend a great deal of money and time training and hiring competent advisors who can deliver an excellent customer experience. What's the main purpose? To maintain current customers and gain new ones. So, are you interested in a customer experience career and want to know more about it? That's the aim of this MOOC titled CX 101, Becoming a Customer Experience Advisor. This MOOC is accessible to everyone. The only things you need are a reliable internet connection, a computer, tablet or smartphone, and a great interest in learning in a new and exciting way. This multimedia-rich and interactive MOOC spreads over 4 weeks with one episode released each week. You follow the course at your own pace because each episode is flexible. Along with other participants, you'll learn, exchange ideas and experiences together online. Everyone works at their own pace over a given period to validate new skills in a fun and innovative way. Quizzes and forms will allow you to assess your progress. In 4 weeks, we'll show you the basic steps to become an effective and professional customer experience advisor. First, we'll start with getting you familiar with the operation of the learning platform and introduce your peers participating in the course. Then, we'll take a look at a series of topics related to the core practices of customer relations. What do you get at the end of this MOOC? Every week, you'll earn badges which validate what you've learned and allow you to obtain a MOOC certificate. This certificate is a valued VIP pass in the recruitment process at Sitel. Any questions on the content? Don't panic, you're not alone. A community manager accompanies you online throughout the course, providing support if you need it. Are you passionate about finding a new career path? Do you like helping people? Then we'll see you on the MOOC.
So as you can see, it's a different way of attracting people, getting them to know the company, getting them to know the job, and making them engage even before day one. So we are very glad to share that those people that were recruited through this MOOC actually stayed in the company longer, and they were more engaged in their job than the other one recruited through different channels. Let me share with you also another concept that we've been working on over the last months, is using the messaging application to support the pre-onboarding and the onboarding processes. So what you can see here is via Facebook Messenger or via WeChat in China, we can get access to future employees once they've signed their contract and provide them a small and very easy and non-confidential course on what's the company culture, what is the mission, what's the history, maybe a welcome word from the CEO and so on, to get them onboarded even before they put their first step in the company. So that's also another way of linking their experience before the day one and during the first weeks of the experience. So the more you put, I would say, systems, processes, tools to support, to facilitate the orientation, the induction process, the training for your employees, the more they will feel engaged and the more they will perform also in their job. So the last slide on this topic is actually how to redesign and how to benefit from different digital technologies or ideas to even enhance the training during the first weeks. So you can work on different video or multimedia content, put them into the training, to make it blended, to make it more varied, to make it more fun, more engaging. You can use role plays, you can use virtual reality. There are so many different approaches to enrich an initial training and make the experience more impacting, more interesting, and more engaging. We've been talking also about emotions. So if you can bring more emotion in that onboarding training, in your initial training period, it will drive also the experience and drive the engagement of the employee. You need also to focus on what would be the right vehicle to give access to those content to your new employees. So if you don't have a learning experience platform, it will be difficult to use those digital tools or digital units. So think about implementing or providing the employees the right channels, would that be mobile or desktop or any other kind of channel through the platform. And we are glad to share also with you our own platform, Tribu. Our team is downstairs if you want to have a demo and look a little bit more at it from a technology perspective. So before we close this first session, I want to share with you some keywords that maybe you would keep in mind when you think about redesigning or creating a new onboarding process or a new initial training curriculum. So the first one is attract. Think about marketing, think about how to engage with your employees like you would engage with your customers. So design the course to make sure that you impact and you engage as much as you can with your new employee, to make them feel welcome, to make them feel at ease in their orientation process. Once you've done that, make sure that the tools, make sure that the process that you designed is actually engaging really the new employees and make them feel at ease in the process, in their first steps in the company. You can also focus on games or fun approaches to entertain them and raise a little bit more even the engagement process, and also show that your company is also a fun place to work in and that you are not only focusing on performance but also making sure that the culture is the right one for your new employees. And the last, but actually it's the core of this, and it's what we have in mind in any step when we design a new training program, is how do you inform, how do you give the right access to the right knowledge and to the right skills to your new employees. So pedagogy should be inside all that process, of course, but you never forget the first keywords like attract, engage, entertain, because they will support, they will help the training be more efficient, and it's the whole combination of that that makes a new training, a new onboarding efficient enough for your new employees. Thank you very much for your time, for your attention, and I will welcome any question you may have. Any question? Yes?
I enjoyed that. Have you found qualifications are motivating? Have you found qualifications are a motivating factor in your recruitment models?
You mean qualifications like certificates, diplomas, and so on? Actually, I don't have much answer on this one, to be honest, because I was not focusing on the recruitment as such, but more in tools to support the recruitment process. But the idea of the MOOC I shared with you, for instance, is to open as widely as possible the recruitment channels, give access in a different manner to a training course that could actually support you into getting a new job. So it could be open to anyone. It doesn't matter the qualifications behind that. And of course, what we are looking for in this kind of course, but other processes, is to have people that are curious, that are at ease with digital tools, so that we would onboard faster and in a better manner.